Hello and welcome to your fourth Fancade scripting tutorial. In the last tutorial we learned about control wires, and in this tutorial we're going to be learning about if statements. So an if statement is a statement that takes a condition and then checks if that condition is either true or false. And then it does something if it's true and it does something else if it's false. So if we open up the inventory here and scroll down, inside of control, you can find an if block right here. Let's take a look at it. So it has quite a few different wires here. It has the before and after wires coming in and out of it, just like the set variable block that we learned about in the last tutorial. Now it also has this wire right here, which says condition. And this is the condition that you're going to be giving the if statement for the if statement to check if that is either true or false. And over here, these are the two wires it's going to execute depending on if the condition is true, it's going to execute this wire, and if it's false, it's going to execute this wire right here. All right. Now, in order to demonstrate this if statement here, or if block, if you want to call it that, let's give it an actual statement for it to check. So let's go inside math, and I want to show you 3 different blocks, at least for now. The first one is equal, and then we have less than and greater than. So the equal block. This block takes 2 numbers and then it checks if those values are equal to each other. And if they are equal, it's going to output true, but if they're not equal, it's going to output false. So let's try and plug this into the if statement, and let's open up the inventory once again, and let's get some numbers so we can check them. Let's plug them each in, and let's set them both to 8 for now. And that's how you make if statements. So what you've got here is an if statement that checks if 8 is equal to 8. Now, that's not very exciting, but we'll get on to some more exciting stuff later on. Now, this is how you do it. But all we need now is for the if statement to actually do something when it's true or false. So I want to show you 2 blocks that are pretty important in most games, and you can find them inside the game category, and they're called win and lose. These 2 blocks are simple blocks that when executed, when the win block is executed, you're going to win the game, and when the lose block is executed, you're going to lose the game. So if we plug the true wire, the true output, into the win block, if we hit play now, we're going to get tons of confetti and you win. Look at that. We get a win screen. Great achievement. Amazing. Awesome. All right. So since 8 is equal to 8, the if statement executed the true wire and we won the game. So if we happen to change one of these values to, let's say, 7, now 8 is obviously not equal to 7, so this if statement is not going to output true anymore. It's going to output false. So if we hit play, you'll see that nothing's actually happening because the condition is false. Now if we instead were to plug in the lose block into the false output, and we hit play, you'll see that we're gonna get a game over screen next time. Yeah, we're gonna do better next time, I promise. We're gonna change this to 8. Are we good now? Admirable job. Fantastic. All right, now, as I said, this is not very exciting. We're just checking if 8 is equal to 8. But this is so much more useful with variables. Say you had, you know what, I'm actually just going to show you an example right now. Say you had a number that kept increasing over time, just like this. We're just going to call it x, and we're just going to add the... Oh, one thing I haven't actually shown you yet, this was something new that's been added through an update. If you drag one script block right next to another script block and connect it like this, the wire is going to automatically plug in just like that, and it's really useful, and I'm really glad that he added that because it's so useful. Back before this update, you had to manually plug it in every time, but this is really useful. Anyways, so here we have an x, a value called x, and it's adding 1 to itself each frame. Let's just inspect this value real quick. Let's get an inspect. There we go. Oh, that was the wrong block. There we go. So as you can see, x... Oh, well, we're still losing the game here. Okay, so x is increasing over time, as you can see. Now, what if we were to do something like this? If x is equal to, let's say, 60. Now, since x is being increased by 1 each frame, x is going to reach 60 in exactly 1 second. So what you've got yourself here is a timer. Now, of course, we haven't plugged anything in here yet. So if we plugged in a win block right there and we hit play, it'll wait exactly 1 second and then you'll win the game. So it's going to increase x 60 times. When it hits 60, we're going to win the game. So you've basically got yourself here a timer. That's how you create a timer, basically. Now you could also set this to something like 180, and now you'd have to wait 3 seconds exactly for it to win the game. Great feat. Now, of course, if you wanted to define, like, if you wanted to, instead of typing in 1/60th of a seconds, how do you say that in, I don't know. Okay, but instead of typing it in 180 and etc., let's say you just wanted to say 3 seconds. Well, with some math, you could do something like this. X divided by 60. If x divided by 60 is equal to 3, it's going to win. Now, this is going to be the exact same thing as before. We're just going to wait 3 seconds, and that's it. So now you can write, if you want to wait 1 second, you can just type in 1, and there we go. All right, enough of that. Now, you could also set this to... I know I'm dragging this on for long, but don't worry. Okay, so I set it to 0 now, but you'll realize that it hasn't actually run at all. But that's pretty unexpected, isn't it? Well, actually it isn't, because it's because of this right here. Because we're adding 1 to x first before we run the if statement here, x divided by 60 is actually never going to be equal to 0. Okay, so it's basically just going to skip this if statement and continue on. However, if we did this, it's going to work, because now we're going to check if x divided by 60 is equal to 0 before we add 1 to x. So now we're going to win immediately. Look at that. All right, for real now, enough of this. We're gonna remove all of it. Now, we looked at equal, but we also have two other blocks, less than and greater than. So let's look at less than. So it works exactly the same as the equal block, but this time, instead of checking if the two numbers are equal to each other, we check if the first number is less than the second number. So let's say we gave this the value of 10 and this the value of 12, just like that. We're also going to plug in a lose block once again. So now when we hit play, since 10 is less than 12, we're going to win the game. Now if this was greater than 12, if this was 14, let's say 14, we're going to lose the game. And also if the two values are equal, we're still going to lose the game because 12 is not less than 12. Now, we also have a greater than block. And that's just the exact opposite of less than. So if 14 is greater than 12, we win. And if 14 is greater than 16, we win. But that's not true, so we lose. So these two blocks, well, if we copied this script right here, this right here, this condition is actually the exact same thing as doing this instead. Hold on. This right here is the exact same thing. So in this case, we're checking if 14 is greater than 16. And here we're checking if 16 is less than 14. So in both cases, it's the same thing, really. They're actually used to not be, was it a greater than or less than? I don't remember. But I think that was a less than. That was like the that was the block that used to exist while the other one did not. So the greater than block didn't get added before an update. So and in fact, you don't actually need one over the other. I mean, you could actually just use one of them every time without a problem. Anyways, so yes, that is how if statements work. You should now understand how to use if statements. If statements are used very often, like all the time almost. I use them all the time. And they're really useful. And yeah. So I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.